Look at the weather.
It's beautiful here.
Non-stop rain.
Oh, man, it is a blazer out there.
It's cold and it's shivery.
It is cold.
Really coming down here.
I really enjoy your weather reports.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, we're talking weather in a whole new way. From historical events to what's coming up, plus weather news, science, safety, fun facts, and more.
I like where this is going.
This is Weather Weekly. Weather Weekly with Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey.
It is episode 219 of Weather Weekly. Good to be with you here as we roll along halfway through the month of March, or at least it's coming up by this weekend. We'll be rolling through halfway portions of the month here, and boy, are we going to start feeling like spring has sprung this week. I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to the days ahead here. It has been a long winter, and this is a good payoff coming up this week. Lots of really, really nice days to get outside, get some things done that you've been neglecting because it's been either really cold or it's been real windy the last couple of days. Specifically last week had a couple of real windy days. So not unusual. And we may have to deal with that a little bit, but at least it will be warm breezes that we're going to be dealing with. Here I am laying a pretty potent system coming our way as well. So it is somewhat of a busy extended forecast here. Rolling in for this upcoming week. We will dissect it, go day by day, and give you all the details, get you ready for this nice warm-up. It is the week ahead for March 10th, 2025. That's next on Weather Weekly. All right, it is the week ahead for March 10th. Let's go ahead and dive in here. This is a spectacular forecast coming up for those of you who want to get outside. It's been a long time coming, where you don't need to have the hoodie on or, a jacket, or deal with some really crazy winds, even when we've been kind of warming up from time to time. So, big story here early on, and we've already kind of tapped into it a little bit over the weekend. Big ridge of high pressure. All right. We were on the front end of it, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before. High pressure centers, when you see that big H that we put on the weather maps on TV, they circulate clockwise. That means the wind flow surrounding is clockwise and out from the high pressure center. And so being on the front end usually promotes cooler temperatures. And we had that Saturday. Struggled to get to the upper 40s. It was beautiful. It was bright. It was calm. But it was still a little cool, seasonably so. Sunday, we saw some improvement as that high kind of rolled overhead. And now as the high moves east, we're going to get more of a southerly component or a southerly wind flow, what we call warm air advection. And all that is it's ushering in these milder temperatures. And that's what we're going to have here over the next couple of days. I think this ridge of high pressure is so strong that it is going to keep us basically cloud-free. There may be a few little clouds, but I think sunshine's going to be the rule for your Monday. It really should be a wonderful day. I'm going to go the high of 66. That is... let's see, about 16 degrees, 16 to 18 degrees warmer than average. So it's not just kind of warm. It's significantly warm. I know we're rolling through the middle of March here, but these are numbers that are well ahead of schedule here. All right. Mainly clear, quiet, not bad overnight. I mean, it'll be crisp, but not terrible. Lows dipping down into the mid 40s. And again, for Monday and Monday night, wind's not a tremendous issue, 5 to 10 miles per hour. So not only bright and beautiful, but calm. And so that will be very nice. Tuesday, kind of the same thing. I'm going to go mainly sunny. There may be a few clouds. And I will say this, depending on where you listen to this podcast from, there will be a wide range of temperatures. And the reason being is you will have a boundary that's going to kind of set up right over the state. And to the north, you're going to run a little bit cooler. It's not going to be, really chilly. It's still going to be above average, but you may not be talking like, late April type of numbers, early May. But if you're to the south, it's going to be exceptionally mild. So just kind of depends on your location. I do see numbers probably I think Indy's going to be right on the dividing line. I know we mentioned I-70 is always kind of the dividing line. I think this may be the case here, where you're to the north, you may be more so in kind of the lower 60 range on Tuesday, but you get into the southern portions of the state, you could be easily in the low, maybe even mid 70s. Okay. So again, wide range of numbers for the, for Tuesday specifically, around our area. So we'll watch that. I think it's still, like I said, it's going to be pretty nice still. Just looking at one of the model projections here. It does send numbers in far northern portions of the state. So like around South Bend, Lake Michigan, it may be a little chilly still. All right. You may be looking at numbers potentially near 50 degrees. But yeah, I think it's still going to be a pretty nice day regardless. It's still going to be above average. So I wanted to caution that because I know there's going to be a lot of buzz about how mild, especially Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will be. Tuesday is going to be kind of like, well, we're splitting a little bit. Okay. Overnight. So I'm going to go with a high in Indy right now of 68. But it could be one of those scenarios that you slide up to Westfield, so that close, and Westfield may only be around 60. There could be a pretty steep drop off. Okay. So just be aware of that. So, but otherwise we're in great shape. We should be partly cloudy and quiet overnight. Tuesday night, lows will be around 40. I think Wednesday's kind of the same. In terms of the temperatures, I do think that the milder air will surge farther north. So I think even up around the Indiana toll road, so that's up around South Bend, you should at least get into the 60s at that point. Lower 60s, the exception may be right around Lake Michigan. That cooler air around the water may only be in the mid and upper 50s. But again, everybody should be at least in the 60s. I think here in Indianapolis, we will be very close to 70 degrees. I'm going to go high around 70. It would be our first 70 of the year. 68 stands as the warmest. It was that one lone day in early February. And I do think we'll probably see a little bit more in the way of cloud cover. Okay. Heading into Wednesday. Wednesday night, staying mostly cloudy. Lows will be around 50. So not terribly cool or cold. It will be cool, but not really, really chilly. Thursday will be actually probably the warmest day I think we have up and coming this week. It is going to be ahead of a potent system coming our way for the weekend, which I'll spend some time on here in a second. But I think we've got a really good chance of exceeding 70 degrees, and I think that's statewide. I think as far north as South Bend, I've got a high of around 68. I've got 72 in Lafayette. I've got 69 in Muncie. And there will be some areas in southern parts of the state that could get into the mid, maybe even upper 70s. I don't know if 80 is going to be within reach, but, Western Kentucky could get around 80, Southern Illinois. So it's not far away. So it shows you just how warm this air mass will be. I do think there is a chance for maybe a shower or rumble of thunder on Thursday. That would likely happen late in the afternoon and evening because I think we're going to be warm enough. We look at what's called the convective temperature. Well, what temperature we would need to get some convection. Convection, all that is part of the ingredients you need to get cloud, cumulus development, and then eventually thunderstorm development. And I think we might be able to reach that point by Thursday. So it's a few isolated thunderstorms could be possible. All right, on Thursday, we'll keep an eye on that. Friday looks dry and still pretty mild. I've got a high of 76. And again, that's the daytime hours. All right, so I think we're okay. So really, for the work week, you're just looking at, just Thursday for any isolated rain chances. That's it. So pretty quiet conditions. well above average temperatures, obviously, by nearly, you're going 25 degrees or more. So pretty nice. Okay, so let's move to the weekend here. The next system that we're going to watch, still a lot of unknowns. I will say we feel pretty confident we're going to be on the warm side of this. This is going to be a really wound up low, it appears. Very deep low. So what that tells us instantly is winds. It is going to get breezy. And we could notice that as early as Friday, even though we'll be dry. Friday could be a warm day, but it could be quite windy day on Friday. Okay. You'll have an attached cold front that's going to kind of run through here. Obviously, we're going to warm up well ahead of that. And then the potential there for heavy rain. That would likely happen there. And the time frame's still in flux a little bit. There's some projections that are saying it happens as early as Friday night. There's some other ones that say it holds off until Saturday morning. So the timing is something we'll have to iron out here, but it does look like there's at least potential for some heavy rain. Minor flooding would come along with that potentially. And severe weather, I'm not too concerned with yet. If we run into some severe weather aspects here, it would likely be because of gusty winds from any thunderstorms. But I think that's going to be more associated with the fact that we're already going to have potentially some pretty strong gradient winds. What do I mean by gradient winds? Gradient winds, all that is kind of like what we had the last couple of weeks, right? When, you had these systems moving through, didn't necessarily always bring us rain, but we had, the winds cranking up. We've had a couple of wind advisories. So it means widespread strong winds. And so I think that is going to be the problem, but the winds get higher as you go aloft. And so sometimes these thunderstorms can bring that stronger wind down to the surface and make things even worse. So that will be maybe a little bit of a concern heading into the weekend. Again, we do these podcasts heading into the early part of the week, so it's still a little less than a week out. There's a lot of details we need to iron out. So we'll keep you updated there with that system coming up. All right. The weekend still looks pretty mild for the most part. I've got numbers into the 60s for Saturday, despite the rain. There may be a bit of there's some signs that we'll get some cooler air. I wouldn't call it Arctic air. Like I said in the last podcast, I think we hopefully are past that point that we don't get any more of these Arctic air intrusions coming in. But look, it's still March, and probably for at least the next month to month and a half, at least until late April, sometimes even to early May, you'll get these waves of cooler air coming in. It's why this, we're starting to enter into the active season for severe weather. You got a lot of this back and forth, and it leads to unsettled weather here. So this shouldn't be a shock. But some of the national Blenda models for Sunday are taking us into the mid 50s. Same thing for Monday of next week, which still puts us above average slightly. But just obviously not as mild as what we're expecting this week. Okay. So that's the details that we have right now. I should also remind you, it is Severe Weather Preparedness Week this week. So you're going to be seeing a lot of stuff on social media, just reminding you on, the aspects of severe weather. Specifically for Tuesday, it is the statewide tornado drill. That's at 10:15 on Tuesday. You'll be hearing sirens going off in probably most municipalities around the state. Kids will be practicing their tornado drills and maybe coming home and being like, hey, we did our tornado drill today. Make sure you're talking to your family about where you need to go and think about in the back of your mind where you need to go in the event of severe weather, where you're at work, whether you're at school, whether you're at home, and where the best places to be are and church and all that. Think of all the places that you kind of go. You don't have to spend hours on this, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind, because it can happen in a moment's notice. We've all lived here for a while, that. So always make sure you have a plan in place. We'll have much more on our website, wishtv.com, throughout the week about Severe Weather Preparedness Week. All right, that'll do it for this week's forecast. We'll recap some things here coming up next on Weather Week. Real quick, I did want to, the Weather Service came out with the winter 2024-2025 review in this past week. And I wanted to run the numbers by you here because, again, I know on the calendar we don't move into spring until we hit the equinox, which is here a couple of weeks from now. But for data record keeping purposes, the winter season ends at the end of February. So we have moved into spring, meteorologically speaking, on March 1st. So for the record, again, it was a very active winter. Much more active than we've had in many, many years. In fact, you have to go back to, I think, 2014. And that was a record-breaking winter. One of the coldest, one of the snowiest we've ever had on record. We weren't anywhere close to 2014, but it just kind of shows how much of a lull we've actually kind of been in since. And even though the numbers just kind of make me laugh a little bit because I think you're with me probably. It has seemed like it's been a longer winter just because we haven't been used to it in over, 10 years. 55th coldest on record. Here's the one that was the kicker, is the 47th snowiest on record. I mean, that puts us basically in the middle of the road. We average, let's see, the average temperature, 30.6. It was a difference from 31.4. So difference from normal was just actually a little bit below a degree. So we were actually pretty average in terms of temperatures. 68 was the warmest that we had. That was back on the 3rd of February, -3. We did on the 21st of January. That was our lowest temperature. So precip-wise, 7.42. We were actually down about an inch of rainfall. And snowfall, see, we had 17.1 for the winter. We are actually still down 4 inches of snowfall. So then December, if you remember, was pretty dry. January, we had the big one. That's the thing. I mean, we had 17 inches. A large chunk of that came in one event, and that was back in January, right? When we had that big snow. There were parts of the state that picked up a foot of snow. We were just shy of that in Indianapolis. So I just found that all just kind of interesting because it is all kind of relative because of how quiet the winters have been over the last 10 years. So there you go. We may still, listen, we still could tax and so on. I hope we don't. Don't want to rule it out though. But yeah, and then obviously with that 17 inches of snow, we did have a few extra inches because we had some snow, measurable snow back in November. So the complete total, which we'll do once we completely turn off our chances for snow, we'll bring that up later when the snow season's officially over. But closer to average, but still below average, and even though it's been very busy. All right, let's do some March stats. Not quite halfway through the month yet. We're up to about 3/4 of an inch of precipitation. That is down about 1/10, so it's not terrible. Last year this time we had about 1.25 inches, so we were running a little bit above average there. We've picked up about 1/10 of an inch of snowfall total. That is actually down 1 inch compared to average. Hopefully that does not change. I'll be okay being below average when it comes to snow. I think you probably are too. 8 to 14 day outlook still looks pretty good. I know I mentioned that we do have a bit of a cool down coming by next Sunday, or this upcoming Sunday, I should mention. But still, this would take us from the dates of March 16th to the 22nd. This still calls for above average temperatures, basically for the eastern half of the country. Also above average precipitation for that same time frame as well. And the 3 to 4 week outlook, which would be the 22nd through April 4th, has a very strong signal for above average temperatures and a decently strong signal for above average precipitation. Something I'll start kind of bringing back up here. Drought outlook. I know we're not yet to the growing season, but it is quickly approaching. Drought Monitor has much of Indiana, northern Indiana, at least under a abnormally dry state. That would include basically the entire Indy metro area and all of central Indiana. Northern and northwestern Indiana specifically is under a moderate drought. So again, it's not a huge concern as of right now, but it is something to watch as we start entering into the growing season. I'm not overly concerned because when you start getting into late March, April, May, you're starting to get into a much wetter season. Same thing when you get into June, which is, I think, the wettest month that we have coming up. Those 3 months, April, May, and June, are usually pretty wet. As long as you can get just the average rain, you're going to be in good shape. So again, we're not in danger zone, but it is worth kind of a mention. It's something I want to kind of bring to your attention as we get going here over the next several weeks and several months. All right, that'll do it for this week's podcast. Always love to hear your feedback. You can shoot me a email anytime, marcus.bailey@wishtv.com. You can also reach me on social media, Marcus Bailey Weather on Facebook. And TikTok, I believe, is the same username. And then Marcus, at Marcus Bailey on Instagram and X is where you can find me there. Those are the kind of the 4 ones that I use. So if you want to reach out, shoot me a message. Love to hear from you. You can also get our forecast 24 hours a day on our website, wishtv.com/weather. And of course, with our free Storm Track 8 weather app, just go to your phone's app store and search for Wish TV Weather, Wish TV Weather. You can also get my forecast Monday through Friday on TV and the web, Monday through Friday, 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Wish TV, locally Channel 8 in central Indiana. And of course, at wishtv.com, hit the live stream button there. And we also stream on the app as well. And of course, we'd love to see you if you can stop on by. We'll be there bright and early this week. Also, don't forget too, we have a really cool, before I go, we have a really cool thing coming up Wednesday. Great staff behind the scenes at Wish TV put together a 70th anniversary special because Wish TV is celebrating their 70th anniversary of significant weather events that have taken place, specifically severe weather events, have taken place over the last 70 years, and how we have covered that at Wish TV. So it's really well done. A lot of cool old video, including even from back in the 1960s. So check that out. That's going to be Wednesday, locally in central Indiana, Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Only on Wish TV. While you're here, make sure to check out all the other great podcasts, all part of the All Indiana Podcast Network. Have a wonderful week. We will talk to you soon, and God bless.
Discover more from Storm Track 8 Weather and Wish TV. Online at wishtv.com and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook. Plus, be sure to check out more great podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.